before, but we didn't really get to talk to her, and so we asked her back because she has a very interesting and inspiring story to share with us today. Our kababayan achiever, we're very proud of her. She has achieved a lot in her life and still continuing to achieve more. Marissa Castro Salvati, our kababayan, she is the Public Affairs Region Manager for Southern California Edison. Hello and welcome to Kababayan.
Hi, Janelle. How are you? Kamusta?
Marissa, the last time you were here, we just talked about Southern California Edison.
Yes.
And also SIPA, no?
SIPA and Phil Barcada.
Yes. So we're not going to be talking about that now. Let's talk about you as a kababayan achiever. How old were you when you first moved here?
Well, when I first arrived here was in 1972. I was a month shy of being 13.
Wow.
So being a teenager coming here to the U.S.
So yung pagka-teenager mo, dito mo na-experience. But how was it like? I'm sure as a 12-year-old coming here for the first time, there were lots of shocks for you.
Oh, definitely. Coming here as a 12-year-old and then going to junior high. Sa Pilipinas, we have 4 years of high school. Here you have to do 6 years of high school.
Right.
Junior high. Masyadong matagal bago ka makagraduate from, you know.
So yung mga kaibigan mo sa Pilipinas, graduate na, ikaw nandun ka.
I know, and I'm still waiting to go through school and still learn and assimilate in the U.S.
Meron ka bang isang experience na hindi mo makakalimutan, bad or good, trying to assimilate? Kasi a lot of our kababayans can pick up from that because we also try to assimilate.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's interesting when you come here as a teenager and you go through a junior high school where predominantly you're probably the non-white in that whole entire group. It's interesting because they immediately think hindi ka marunong magsalita ng English.
English,
So they start, talking about you and you're going, okay,
Right.
And then suddenly you start talking English, speaking English to them, and they say, oh, okay, I thought you were an ESL student.
So
okay. Immediately, when your color is different, when you look different from everybody else, they immediately think you don't speak English.
But you know what? You didn't let that stop you because you've gone on to do a lot of wonderful things. Like, it would, baka 30 minutes natin hindi enough for me to read all of this, but you've worked for a lot of politicians. You have achieved a lot of awards, as I mentioned earlier. How was it like struggling and trying to break the barriers, trying to break the ceiling?
Well, it's really difficult. Growing up here in LA, wala kang mentors. You don't have mentors when you're growing up.
And at that time, I'm sure wala ka ring models. Kasi,
well, nothing at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, even though I was involved in SIPA, that's more of an after-school type of program. I didn't have really somebody to mentor me, to give me direction as to where I should go. In fact, I was a poli-sci major at UCLA. And I deferred law school. I thought I was going to go to law school, be a lawyer, make money.
Right.
But I deferred law school and then went into politics. I was an intern in a political office, enjoyed it so much that 15 years of my life was spent in political arena working for elected officials.
And that is why so many people have also asked you to run for office, which is what we need here for the Filipino community in Southern California. We need a lot of representation in the policy-making arena. Is that not something that you're open to?
No, that's not in my agenda. I know. I love working for people who are aspiring to be elected officials. I'll help them, I'll mentor them. But in terms of running for my own, it's not in my agenda. I enjoyed working for politicians. In fact, I said I left politics to work for the private sector, to work for Southern California Edison.
Right, doing politics.
Doing politics. Ended up doing politics anyway, doing local government.
Right.
But, for me, my biggest accomplishment, I think, for the Filipino community especially, and in terms of having more leadership in the political arena, is actually, if you had remembered, founding the SPEL, which is our Summer Political Empowerment Leadership.
Yeah.
And this was co-founded by another very good friend of mine, Michael Balawing, who is now working for Entertainment Industry Foundation.
See, that said, how would you talk to the viewers right now? A lot of Filipinos, we're still very Filipino. We want our daughters, our sons to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to be a nurse, so that we can earn more money. We don't hear a lot of Filipino parents encouraging their kids to get into politics. First question, why do you think that is? Why do you think that's a problem?
Well, I think And again, you know, growing up in the Philippines and remembering the political situation in the Philippines, I think it's sort of a bad thing for kids to go into politics because there's always that thinking of, you know, being in the Filipino politics, there's always corruption.
Right.
But they don't realize that here in the U.S., it's a little bit different. You're able to really have a much more way of learning.
There's no corruption?
I'm not going to say yes or no. I'll say no comment on that one.
Okay.
But you know, having a voice in the community, and that's what's important. I think when you're a doctor, when you're a nurse, and in fact, I always get pegged for a nurse being Filipino. My husband always gets asked, "Oh, you married a Filipina?
Right.
She must be a nurse."
Right.
But unfortunately,
is that insulting to you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think our medical fields, you know, representatives, especially the nurses, worked hard to come here and really provide an excellent care to patients.
Right, right.
And that's why I said I always enjoy when I go to hospitals. I always make sure that we have a Filipino nurse, because you can, you know, pretty much identify with them. You're able to get better service.
So whether we are in the policy-making arena or as nurses, healthcare industry, we excel. But like I mentioned, going back, what would you tell them? What would you tell them now to encourage them to get into policy-making, to get into politics?
What I would encourage parents, especially if there are children or kids that are interested in going to politics or even just the policy-making arena.
Or even just local government.
Just local government.
Or neighborhood council.
It's important that we have a voice in the government, because what happens is that if you're not well represented in the community, and again, Filipinos are not well represented. We always sort of get, you know, shadowed by the other Asian communities.
Right.
And so we really need to be out there to make sure that we are well represented and having a voice, just working for an elected official or running for local office.
Right.
A lot of us throughout the nation, you'll see a lot of Filipinos that are running for city council, which is a stepping stone for them to aspire to run for a higher office.
Actually, just earlier we talked about Filipino running for the 59th District of the California State Assembly. So that is good, right?
Yes.
And thank you so much for founding SPELL for us, and more power to you. And I know that you also try to bridge Southern California Edison to the Filipino community.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And I enjoy that very much.
Thank you for being an inspiration to us all as well. More power.
Oh, no, my enjoyment.
Magbabalik po ang Kababayan LA. Don't go away.
Ang Kababayan LA ay hatid sa inyo ng McDonald's at ng bagong McCafe Espresso Drinks. McDonald's na ba ang inyong bagong coffee house? Ang mga bagong McCafe Espresso Drinks ay mabilis, masarap at mas mura pa kahit saan, kahit kailan.
Time Warner Cable's best deal ever sale is here.
When Time Warner Cable makes an offer, it's move it or lose it time, right?